All right. So one of the things we talked about was doing a whiteboard session, right? Um, for Africans in tech. So we're going to talk really basics of what Splunk is. I'll give two really simple examples, and then moving forward, this will be a theme for this podcast. So Splunk. So imagine you have, we'll use a student, right? Their name is Dunye. So another student has a laptop named Dunye. So Dunye has that laptop, and they do a bunch of things on their laptop. So they go to Facebook, they go to Amazon, they check their bank accounts, they do a bunch of stuff on their laptop. So Dunye wants to be able to tell whenever her laptop is turned on, and then whenever it's turned off, whenever she logs in or somebody else logs into laptop. She has a sister called Ashley that also uses the same laptop. Ashley goes on different sites and checks her bank account and other stuff like that. So what Splunk is, or what Splunk can do, is a tool that can literally sit, and this is like their logo, that can sit on your laptop. So you can install it on your laptop, and then you can give it instructions. You can say, okay, I want you to look at whenever somebody goes to a website, so www, and does whatever. But not only that, we'll step it back a bit. Whenever somebody, in this case, Ashley or Dunye, opens up the laptop and logs in, give me information about that. And what it can do then, it can create for you a nice little dashboard, which it's a web interface dashboard that you can go to, and then you can look at different sort of like data sets about what's happening. So in this case, we see Ashley logs on, if we do a pie chart, she logs on 70%. This is a horrible, diagram of a pie chart, but she logs on 70% more than Dunye does. So Ashley uses this laptop a little bit more. Other things you can tell from it. Ashley goes to, Facebook a lot less than Dunye. Other things you can look at. Whenever Ashley uses a laptop, because you can collect metrics around how your laptop is doing in terms of like power consumption, things like that. All of that stuff is digital. You have information about it. Whenever Ashley uses a laptop, it runs up on the memory a lot more, and then the laptop starts overheating. Whenever Dunya uses it, the laptop is not in use as much, but it's not being used in the most optimal sense because Dunya goes to like, you know, podcasters.com or goes to africansintech.com and watches some random videos. So those are things that you can sort of make sense out of just from a laptop basis. So just wanted to kind of set a really basic precedence there. You have two people that use a laptop. You set Splunk up on that laptop. Splunk monitors information around like CPU, the memory, the disk space that's being used. So if Ashley installs more programs on it, also, another thing, it monitors the apps on the laptop. It also monitors who gets on the laptop, when they get on the laptop, and how they use the laptop. So these are really simple basics in terms of data that you can get from just a single laptop, right? And all of this is when you have people who are professionals to try to understand the why. That's what they pay security folks and other data engineers and stuff for, to understand the why. So the other thing, if we were to take this a little bit further, when they get to www dot, let's say apple.com, Apple has Splunk also set up. Let's just use hypothetical here. So Apple also has Splunk set up that monitors their website. So it monitors when Ashley logs in from Atlanta to Apple.com from some sub area in Atlanta, and she's looking to buy a gold iPhone 15. But not only Ashley, you have, let's say, 500 other or 500,000 other people who are based in Atlanta that are also looking to buy the same gold iPhone 15. So the way Apple can use this data is, okay, the gold iPhone 15 is selling really hot in Atlanta during the month of May 2024. Let us send another 500,000 phones to local stores in the area so we don't run out. And that way we have inventory to be able to cover the gold iPhone 15 because it's hot. Similarly, because we know that the black iPhone 15 is trash, is not selling well, let's pull back inventory and scale this down and maybe find another area where black iPhone 15 is, really hot right now, right? So wherever it's hot at, let's redirect that to maybe Chicago. So again, this is just looking at really simple data points and just making inferences of like the data itself. So in this case, you can use this to look at for operational use cases where we're talking about how is someone using a laptop or a server or whatever it may be, how somebody's using that system. And then down here, we're looking at maybe security to see, from an application standpoint, what apps are they, putting on there, who's getting on the laptop, when are they getting on the laptop, how are they getting on the laptop. So the why is also could be a security portion. And then here you have more of a business function where you are looking at, okay, we have users or customers from Atlanta, 500,000 of them are buying gold iPhones. Let's use that data now to be able to point them to our store that needs to refill on, I don't know, backfill on 500,000 iPhones that they just sold, so that if customers who are now still looking for the gold iPhone 15s aren't finding it, it's not because we don't have them in stock. It's because they stopped literally buying it. It's not there. So on our part as a company, Apple, we're going to stock these gold iPhone 15s in advance because the data that we pulled from Splunk the tool tells us that we have an influx of people looking for 500,000 iPhones in the month of May 2024. Let's make sure we have enough iPhones. And in the iPhone 15s that we were making and trying to ship to Atlanta, if they're not selling this month, let's scale back a little bit. And then let's maybe reroute some of those or that inventory to Chicago where it's hot right now. So these are just like some sample use cases that folks use Splunk for. And this is from a individual standpoint. But if we were to look at this from a company standpoint, I'll draw that in just a second and make this really simple. Hey, what up, fam? This is Saul Levy, host of Africans in Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. Just a quick reminder for those who've not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. You can catch all of our content, including our whiteboard sessions, where you'll find our full-length videos on our channel. And hit that notification bell, fam. All right? So this will be the second drawing, and we'll use a company as an example to talk about how you can use Splunk to make sense of your data. And we're just going to expand it a little bit from just kind of what we just discussed. All right, so we finished with the example of Dunya and Ashley, right? So now, let's say Dunya gets hired. So again, Dunya gets hired at Microsoft. All right. So she's now I don't know, a system engineer. So she's a system engineer that works at, if I can spell, I think I did spell it, E-E-R. There we go. So she's a system engineer at Microsoft, right? So her responsibility really is to make sure that all the servers that, well, all the laptops, we'll say that, we'll make it really simple. All the laptops that are given to new Microsoft employees have the latest software and are patched and when we say patched, it means that they're secure, has the latest updates so that if their laptop joins on a bad network, it doesn't get compromised because of like really simple vulnerabilities that can be remediated, right? So she's responsible for, let's say, 40,000 laptops. So is Dunye going to ask 40,000 people to bring their laptops to her so that she can make sure that they get patched and all that? No. There are systems that are in tech world that are built, or applications that are built to be able to address all of these laptops in one go. So meaning you can literally apply the same patch. Let's say you needed to update, I don't know, a web browser. You wanted to update Firefox across all 40,000 of these laptops. What you can do, you can set Splunk, and there's multiple ways to do this. I'm just using a really basic example. You can set Splunk to monitor the versions of Firefox on all 40,000 laptops, and you can deploy that on build. So whenever you build a laptop, one of the things that you can have it do is you can have it check back into a sort of like a home repository is what we call it. Like it's basically, think about it like a home base that says, hey, you always check in here for any updates that you need, right? So this would be like their security base. We'll just call that. There's another term we're going to use more in the future, but for right now, we're just going to really keep it simple. So this has all their updates, right? So updates. So if all the laptops are checking in for updates, to make sure that it has all the different things it needs while connected to the network or domain, one of the things that you want to do is to make sure that as they check in, you need to validate that all the updates are there. This system itself can do that, but you can also have Splunk do that for you and then send alerts and stuff like that when any of these systems are out of compliance. Well, let's say user, like let's say SAR is a user here, and SAR is an admin of his laptop. He says, screw this. I have Microsoft, I have Firefox 2024 version 3. I'm going to go back down to Firefox 2024 version 1 instead. And then that has a big vulnerability. Like I don't like some of the things in Firefox, version 3. This causes possibly the whole company to be at risk because if SAR's Firefox gets hacked and his user's account and other things that maybe he's stored in Firefox, the browser itself, gets hacked, there's a possibility it can cause downchain effects depending on what SAR's role is and what he can do. So you want to get an alert whenever SAR decides to be a knucklehead and downgrades his version of Firefox to anything less than what the actual version should be. So this is SAR, and then his Firefox version. And then this is the standard. So if SAR's version is anything less than that, what you can tell to Splunk is send an alert. And then this alert now goes to Dunye. And she's like, hey, what in the heck? Why is your version now less than, that? So this can also then be rerouted to security. And then security can check that out and say, okay, why the heck are you downgrading your Microsoft Firefox version when we clearly told you it needs to be at the standard that we want it to be at? You can send it also to SARS boss. You can send it to a bunch of other folks. And then you can create programs around this as well so that once Dunye gets this, it immediately alerts this security center right here. and then it forces SARS update, or it locks his computer and does whatever. There's a whole bunch of automations and things that you can do in place where you can do different sorts of checks and balances, so that Dune doesn't have to do a manual now. Let's say you have 30 knuckleheads like SAR or 100 knuckleheads like SAR to do that. She doesn't have to go now and force run that. You can have checks and balances where SAR system has Splunk on it that notices his version is less, sends an alert to Dune. That alert triggers something else that then checks to the security center. Security center says, okay, cool. We now need to push an alert, or not alert, but push the new package back up to SAR's laptop, or even lock SAR out because he's done something silly and dumb. So again, a quick recap, right? So we're talking Splunk here. We're talking to user Dune. Dune is a system administrator for Microsoft. So Dune has to manage 40,000 laptops, so these 40,000 laptops. And Dune is responsible for making sure that they all get all their updates. Dune also has SAR and a few other people that are managers as admins of their own personal laptops. So when Dune applies updates, SAR didn't like some of those updates that were applied. So he decides to revert some of those changes that the security center pushed out and says, hey, I'm going to go back to the previous version of Firefox. So now he's less than standard. So everybody else is, pretty much at standard, but SAR is less than standard. There's an alert that fires off from Splunk's standpoint. It says, hey, we noticed SAR's Firefox version is less than what the standard should be. I'm going to send this to security. I'm also going to send this now to Dune. Dune gets this alert. Dune set up a script or program on her server or on her application, whatever she works with, that says whenever an alert comes in that talks about the Firefox version being less than whatever it is, automatically redirect that to Security Center. Security Center, as soon as you get this alert from this specific application, push out the latest change back up to the laptop. Also lock out that user from that. There's a script that does that. So now SAR's locked out. His updates are there. SAR has to now report to Dune and tell why his version was downgraded for whatever reason. And then security also has to talk to SAR, say, why the heck did you downgrade your version when we clearly said you have to be at standard? When it comes to making sure that your organization doesn't have vulnerabilities, we have, in the recent years, there's been over billions of dollars worth of hacks that have happened. So from Experian to Microsoft to Facebook to all the big organizations, and many that have either went public or those that have remained hidden, have probably been hacked in some way, shape, or form. If SAR works at Microsoft that has access to your personal information somehow, whether your address, your kids' information, your parents' information, whatever it may be, family members, if he gets hacked and he has access to a database that has that information in it, guess what? Now you are liable to be impacted because of SAR's foolishness of downgrading his Firefox version. That's just, it's a oversimplified, explanation, but you get the idea that if anyone does something that can make an organization liable to be compromised, it's not just the organization that can be compromised, it's you as an individual that can be compromised, depending on that user's sort of role and what they have access to. Because if I can basically come to your house as you and impersonate you, I can get into any room that you have in your house. So at that point in time, I'm you, and I can do anything in the house that you normally would do. I can go in and basically take all your stuff in your room. I can go and tell your kids to do whatever, and they'll think that, it's me talking as you. I can do anything as you, and that's a very dangerous place to be. So from an impersonation standpoint, it's very problematic if you have users doing rogue things. We call it rogue IT or shadow IT in environments that when you tell them, hey, no, we did tell you to install this application, and we're telling you not to do that for a reason. We didn't tell you to downgrade this because we're telling you not to do that for a reason. So everybody needs to be in compliance. And that's why they have systems compliance, because if they're not, they're very liable to be affected or infected by malware and other things that can basically expose your data and then also cost companies millions, if not millions of dollars. That's a really simplistic sort of, view of this. We'll get a lot more technical as we go through, but the idea really is just to talk about Splunk in a basic low level conversation and make it so that anyone that's not been in tech can understand this. I hope this is clear. But if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out. Post your questions or comments, below in the social media sites, and we'll get back to you.